Hello everyone and welcome to Stay for Nature. My name is Esther and this channel is about Cardano ecosystem and environmental organizations. They fight against climate change, protect endangered species and reduce plastic waste. Today, we have two special guests who will explain to us about Rainforest for Foundation. They will also tell us about land purchase to save the entry project, which State for Nature is involved in as a partnership. Hello, Dia and Kelvin. Thank you so much for your time and for being here with us today. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us about the organization? Thank you.
Sure. I'll go first and then leave Kelvin to be the. My name's Dee Tipping, and I've worked with Kelvin for the past 3 years at Rainforest 4 Foundation, and we at the moment are concentrating on saving the Daintree, and my role is as donor relations and also fundraising in a certain level, like dealing with you guys in terms of our communication, how we develop the relationship with donors. And so on both accounts, we have a happy relationship with our donors, because at the end, our donors are the ones that buy back the Daintree. We facilitate what our donors want to do, and it's a wonderful feeling, especially in what hasn't been the easiest of times with COVID, that we've seen our donations. Kelvin, you would agree with this, pretty much easily double. So really one of the such an encouraging outcome for the past 2 years, despite the hardship that a lot of people have had dealing with the COVID issue, is that people have had more time. They're not hopping on a plane going overseas. They're more focused on what I think we can do in our own backyard to look after our country. And certainly Rainforest 4 Foundation has seen that outcome very, very obviously with the way our donors have just been magnificent. So yes, we're happy chappies at the end of 2021 in terms of our wonderful donor base that is growing all the time. And we thank you both for recently coming on board to help us save the Daintree. I'll leave it now with Kelvin.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you, Kelvin.
Well, first of all, thank you, Juan and Esther, for everything you do through Stake for Nature. Greatly appreciate that you're helping many charities to achieve great things to protect the natural world. My name's Kelvin, and I'm the founder of this organisation called the Rainforest 4 Foundation. And our mission is rainforest conservation for wildlife, climate, people and the planet. So all of those things are important to us, not just preserving the natural world, but of course our relationship as human beings with nature that is all around us and is vitally important to us. One of the things that we really focus on is the Daintree rainforest in far north Queensland. And this is an iconic area in Australia. Most people who think about Australia, they might think about koalas or kangaroos, but in natural areas, they might think of Kakadu National Park or the Great Barrier Reef. And another one they would think of is the Daintree rainforest. It's a really iconic area in Australia. That's because there are so many species of plants and animals there. It is our most biodiverse ecosystem. And it's also said that it is the world's oldest rainforest. And scientists have been researching and studying the Daintree for many years, and what they've found is that there are species of plants which are archaic. They've been around for a very long time, and they can determine that by looking at the fossil record, and they can see that these plants were around about 120 million years ago. That's when plants started to evolve into having flowers. So the flowering plants evolved about 120 million years ago. Some of those plants are still growing there in the Daintree, largely unchanged, and they're there in the fossil record. So we can identify that they've been there a very, very long time, and the Daintree has remained untouched. So it has these ancient species of flowering plants. And obviously scientists are looking around the world to study plants, and they can identify that there's 19 ancient flowering plant families, and 12 of those are found in the Daintree rainforest alone. So it's very special, very important, and to science and also to nature, to conservation in Australia, and people love visiting as well. So it's also important for the economy and tourism.
Yeah, thank you, Kelvin. Could you explain us where our donation will be used exactly?
Sure. Well, once again, thank you for your donation. We have a practical program where each $2.50 that we raise is spent on buying 1 square metre of the Daintree rainforest and protecting it forever. So at the moment, we're raising money to purchase lot 11, Buchanan Creek Road in Cow Bay, which is a locality in the Daintree rainforest. And I'll just explain why these properties are for sale and at risk. In the 1980s, a developer was able to convince the state government in Queensland to carve up the rainforest into a rural residential subdivision. And there was 1,136 blocks of land created in the Daintree rainforest, and 50 kilometres of roads, a network of roads to service these properties was created. So we are buying back the remaining undeveloped blocks to ensure that the Daintree is protected forever.
Okay, that's interesting. Yes, I think you answered the next question, but I think what exactly your organization is doing in order to save the Daintree rainforest?
Well, first of all, what we did about 2 years ago is we engaged an ecologist to undertake a study of the 1,136 blocks of land that were created and find out their status today, because some have been developed for housing, some have been developed for tourism, others have been bought back for conservation, and others remain as undeveloped freehold blocks which are at risk. So we've identified 207 properties in the Daintree which we feel need to be purchased for conservation, and we've ranked those from 1 to 207 based on their importance for conservation, whether they're intact ecosystems. Some of the plant communities there are threatened. And just interestingly, the Australian government just last week made a decision that all of the remaining lowland tropical rainforest in Australia, in far north Queensland, is now determined as an endangered ecological community. So not only are individual plants and animals threatened with extinction, but that whole ecosystem is endangered because of past clearing, fragmentation and degradation of the ecosystem. So yeah, it's all very important. And so we've identified which blocks we'd like to acquire, and we're on a process now of raising the funds to buy these blocks. And we've had some wonderful support over the last 2 years, and we've purchased 18 properties. And in this year, 2021, 2021, losing track, 2021, we've purchased 10 properties so far, and we've got a few weeks to go for the end of the year. We hope to buy 2 more. So yeah, we're buying those blocks up, and that prevents them being cleared and developed for housing.
That's really good. That's really good. And it's interesting. So once the property are purchased, what is the next step?
Okay, well, we have a wonderful relationship with 2 other organisations. One is called Half Cut, which it's a non-profit. They recognise that half of the world's rainforests have already been destroyed, and they're working with us to purchase these properties and protect them. So halfcut.org, that's the other partner organisation, and we work directly with the traditional owners of the Daintree Rainforest, the Gugu Yalanji people, and they are the traditional owners of land from around about Port Douglas, heading north to Cooktown, and that includes the Daintree lowland rainforest. So they are represented in the community by the Jabalbina Yalanji Aboriginal Corporation, and the three organisations are working together, and we describe it as stronger together, so collaborating collectively to make sure that we can deliver this project. So, yeah, we really are working directly with those traditional owners. So once we have the land, we then work directly with Jabalbina Yalanji Aboriginal Corporation, and we transfer the land into their land trust.
Good.
Then it is held there and is incorporated into the national park system. So on the 29th of September this year, a wonderful thing happened. The Queensland government handed over 160,000 hectares of land back to the traditional owners.
Oh, good.
That's so great news.
Yeah. So the Gugu Yalanji people, they now own the national park.
Yes.
It's owned in their name. And so they get to look after it and care for it, as they have done for 60, 70,000 years. And of course, you know, they were dispossessed and marginalised. And now finally the government has recognised not only native title, which they achieved more than a decade ago. Native title identifies that they are the traditional owners and they have some rights. What happened in September of this year is they actually got the title of the land back in their name. So it's ownership, which is wonderful. Such a good feeling for people.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good
So
feature.
yeah, so then the land that we are buying is put into that same process, and it's called SIPAL, or Cape York Peninsula Aboriginal Lands. It's an agreement between the Gugu Yalanji people and the Queensland government that national park, although now owned by the Gugu Yalanji people, will be managed as a national park into the future, and that the Jabalbina Yalanji Aboriginal Corporation will receive funding to employ their Jabalbina rangers to look after all the properties. So the properties we're purchasing will go into that same process, and the Queensland government will be employing, through Jabalbina, rangers to care for the blocks. So it's got the highest level of protection. The Daintree National Park is also a World Heritage Area. So we're very confident that these blocks will be protected forever. It's the highest level of protection available. And also we're returning that land to the traditional owners, the Gugu Yalanji people. I'll just mention one other thing about that. Obviously, that is the aspiration of Aboriginal people to be reconnected with the land. We recognise that as human beings, all of the environmental problems that we have come from a disconnection from nature. And we can see, and of course, what Aboriginal people have had for millennia is an integral connection with nature. So we can learn from Gugu Yalanji people and other Aboriginal peoples that caring for country is in our own interests. So Auntie Lynn Johnson, who's the chair of the board at Jabalbina, she talks a lot about healing the land, but also healing the relationship between Gugu Yalanji people and country, and healing the relationship between us as non-Aboriginal people, Aboriginal people and the land. So it's all about healing. We're healing country, healing the relationships that we've had with Indigenous people. So as we say, rainforest conservation for wildlife, climate, people and the planet.
Oh, thank you, Kelvin. Thank you so much. It's been a very interesting and enrichment talk with you. I think we have learned a lot of things about your project. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's amazing. Would you like to add something more? I don't know.
Well, again, thank you very much for your support. All of the work that we do in the Daintree in buying these properties is funded by the community. People make small donations or large donations, and we use that to directly buy the land back from private ownership and protect it forever. So it's very tangible, very real, and it's very inexpensive. And I think just last month we passed the figure of 500,000 square metres of land purchased, and of course $2.50 a square metre. So that's all we need, and it's very practical and very real. I'll just mention a couple of things that make the Daintree special. You might know of a big bird in Australia called the cassowary.
Yeah, sure.
It's amazing, really.
People in Australia are more familiar with emus, which are found all over Australia, but the cassowary is found only in tropical rainforest in far north Queensland. So the CSIRO did a survey to find out how many of these birds are left, and it took them quite a number of years, but they estimate there's 4,400 of these birds remaining. And so not many, and so they rely on that tropical rainforest. They can't live in other habitats because they're frugivores. They eat the fruits of rainforest trees. So when you go to the Daintree, that's the place you're most likely to see one of these beautiful big birds. They're as tall or taller than we are. It's a great sight to see them. People often think that they're dangerous, but they're as long as you don't bother.
I heard that they are dangerous, but I don't think so.
No, I mean I saw one on the block that we're buying, Lot 8 Buchanan Creek Road. I was there a few weeks ago with our ecologist, and we were identifying all the species of plants on the property. He heard a bit of a rustle in the forest, and there was a cassowary there, a male cassowary and a chick. They were only a few metres away from us, and they had no interest in us whatsoever. They just walked off into the forest. So they only, if they feel threatened, they will defend themselves. So you just give them a little bit of space, and it's okay. Another wonderful creature we have in the Daintree is the Bennett's tree kangaroo. So this is a kangaroo that lives in the canopy of the forest. So it lives in the trees.
Yes, I heard about that, but I never saw it. Yes.
Yeah, they're very rare. They're naturally rare. They only live in the Daintree rainforest or nearby. It's the Bennett's tree kangaroo. They live in the canopy. They eat leaves on the rainforest trees, mostly because the rainforest is very shady with the canopy, and there's not much grass on the ground, so they've evolved to live in the canopy. So I've been lucky to see them twice in the last 20 years. So they're very rare and hard to see, but they are there. And of course, preserving this rainforest habitat is important for cassowary, the Bennett's tree kangaroo, and all the other species of life that are there. These properties, we have ecologists who come with us to the Daintree to inspect these properties to find out their true ecological value. We have a wonderful botanist named Christopher, who's one of Australia's best rainforest botanists, and he identifies all the species of plants that are found on these properties, many rare and threatened species. And of course, that increases our reasons for buying these blocks. And we also have had some aquatic ecologists. When we buy properties that have little streams or creeks on them, we have the aquatic ecologists come and look at those properties as well. We're about to buy another property in 2022. It has a beautiful part of Hutchinson's Creek flowing through it, and we had the ecologists go there, snorkeling around, looking for the fish and so forth. And they went onto one of the little tributaries of the creek, and they found a species of fish. It's called the Daintree rainbow fish. And it was, it's a critically endangered fish. It was only discovered in 2012.
Really?
Yeah, it's a new species, and it's only found on small little tributaries of the main creeks, Hutchinson Creek and Cooper Creek. So it's very restricted in its distribution, and we were able to find that it's on on this creek or in this creek
Yeah.
on one of the properties that we're going to buy. So wonderful outcomes that we're saving threatened species habitat. And of course, we just want those species of life to continue on into the future. Well, as we know, in the Daintree Rainforest, the subdivision was created in 1982. And some parts of the Daintree have also been cleared for agriculture in the past. So overall, most of the Daintree is intact. So it's a wonderful ecosystem worth keeping, but on those small areas that have been cleared in the past, we're able to restore them. Okay. And obviously, the more habitat we have for the cassowary and other endangered species, the better. So in those areas, we're removing the exotic plants, and hopefully that enables the rainforest to grow back by itself. But where it's unlikely, we do plant trees. And we've got a little project coming up where we're going to plant another 1,000 trees for the cassowary in the Daintree Rainforest. And that's part of our ongoing program, where we have rainforest rangers who are planting trees. And we do that in the Daintree Rainforest in far north Queensland. We do it on the Atherton Tablelands, an area a little bit to the south. We're planting and establishing rainforest there as well. We're doing that same work in northern New South Wales, in the Byron Shire, where we're restoring subtropical rainforest. And we also have two other locations, one in Indonesia, in Sumatra, where we are establishing, I think it's several 100,000 trees. But last year we established 65,000 trees in North Sumatra last year. And we're also doing a project in India as well. So again, that's supporting local people to care for and protect their rainforests and engaging people with nature conservation. So.
Great. Thank you very much. Yes, we encourage the people to visit this place because this is amazing. And we are going to put all the information in our website in order to the people, our viewers, just see what are you doing, and as well all the information in the description of this video, all the links, and please visit this place because it's amazing.